When hope is gone, undo this lock and send me forth on a moonlit walk. Release restraint level 0. Hey kids, wanna see a dead body?
Hey guys, this is the Void of the Ravenclaw. Welcome back to another fanfiction story. If you like this type of content, smash the like button and subscribe for future updates that I do post on my community tab frequently. Before we continue, a little disclaimer. I am still currently sick, so I don't know if there's going to be choices in my pitch of my voice, so just to let you guys know ahead of time. Now, we are going to continue with our story where we last left off with the current timelines of the Madorias leaning against each other back to back with their swords in their hands as they are being surrounded by virtual green and red skeletons, all wielding various bladed weapons. Izumi and Izuku know each other so well, they immediately know what the other is planning, as both Midoriya's duck downwards as a virtual skeletons charge and hit each other with their own weapons, destroying themselves as they crack and turn into data shards. Izumi charged the next incoming skeleton with her sword. Izuku charged the skeleton that was trying to flank his sister. Izuku performed a simple sword parry when the skeleton tried to attack with his blade, making his opponent unbalanced. Izuku swung a simple sword strike as he cut right through his opponent as the skeleton cracked and turned into data shards right in front of him. Izuku took a small glance towards his sister, seeing Izumi dodging and weaving around 3 red skeletons with great ease, dodging every sword swing that came her way. Then suddenly she attacked by a rapid thrust strike, thrusting her weapon, landing several hits in rapid succession as all 3 of the red skeletons shatter into data shards. Suddenly, Izumi and Izuku's weapon begins to glow for a brief second. Then a notification came from their weapons. Well, a voice basically speaks. Level 1 swords has achieved level 2. New skill required. Blade slash unlocked. Izumi and Izuku got a rush of information directly into their minds to how to use the sword skill that they just required. Izumi unleashed a sword slash as the sword slash shot forward. When she swung her weapon, a energy sword slash shot out, cutting right through the remaining red skeletons. Out of all the new players, the Madorias were the first ones to learn about the weapon skills. And because they're a duo, they both share experience. That's why they both level up their sword at the same time. As a expected and leave it to a Midoriya to adapt to a new situation, no matter what timeline you're in. The Midoriyas are always survivors. Case in point, as Deku amused to himself, Deku watches the image of the two Midoriyas using the sword slash on several green and red skeletons. The weapons in Overlord will level up. The levels are not infinite, but the weapons gain experience from every foe they killed. Eventually more skills will be revealed. If they were in Overlord in a long extended period of time. It's just how Overlord works. When quirks are unable to be activated in Overlord, not saying quirks are automatically suppressed. Deku has full control if he allows a quirk to be used in Overlord or not. Let's take a look at the rest of the little heroes in training. Everything's moving very nicely. Deku moved a screen showing the villains in the image. Let's see how the villains are holding up. You could see the leader of the League of Villains chopping down skeleton after skeleton with his blood red sword. As a new group of red and green skeletons begin to approach Shigaraki. Shigaraki did not even hesitate and charged forward with a massive grin on his face. As he activated his sword skill in a slash, much like the skill, the sword skill, sword slash, it produces a slash of energy once the weapon is swung, as a beam came out of the blade, chopping the small group of skeletons down in two. This is awesome. Master, what's the plan? This villain killer, Deku, has derailed our original plan. You are quite correct. It seems like the original plan aren't going to work. But we can salvage this mess. We just gotta hold up and win this little game. I have no doubt eventually the heroes will get suspicious not hearing from any of the Class 1A students. I have no doubt the number one hero will come running in, like the fool he is. Then he will die. But in the meantime, we have to complete this little game, this Overlord. Clearly, there are rules that can't be broken. Meanwhile, Principal Nezu hasn't heard anything from the USJ. Ozawa is supposed to check up on, was supposed to call a update when they arrived, but they never got word, so he got suspicious. When the number one hero was sent out to check, he was supposed to be there anyways, but he had to save some people from a random villain attack. When the number one hero eventually arrived at the USJ, he can see it's encased in a huge green dome. Well, that doesn't look normal. It's a good thing I decided to tag along. Things are looking a bit more interesting now. After All Might examined the dome, close up, he found out they'll be able to pass through it by he sticking his hand through the dome barrier. So both heroes stepped through the boundaries of the dome walking right through it. When they fully walked through it, the dome, they found themselves in a virtual city. But when they tried to back outside, they were unable to leave. Immediately, they noticed they can't use their quirks. Surprisingly, All Might is still in his buff form. As a big screen materialized right in front of the two heroes in the virtual city of Overlord, showing the villain killer, Deku. Well, 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 it isn't the number one hero. And the bunny hero, Mirako. Welcome to Overlord. What are you scheming, Deku? Deku shrugged. This and that, number one hero. It looks like all the new players in this little play has progressed to the next stage. I suggest you two arm up. I would advise you to find a weapon cache as soon as possible. Things are about to heat up. I mean that literally. As the city begins to shift once again, as the buildings move around, as all of the heroes and villains found themselves in different parts of the city, before they could plan any further on their next steps. At the same time of both locations, as the heroes and villains, the mini-boss had revealed itself. When they accumulated enough points by destroying enough red and green skeletons to do so, the heroes and villains could hear two large, separated sounds charging through the city. At the same time, both unknown entities revealed itself as a humongous hell snake. The two mini-bosses has revealed itself as a large snake. The body of the snake has several eyes along its body, with a flaming red eye on top of his head. It's still a virtual creature. It's not a living thing, but it does have nifty abilities, like fire, green fire to be precise, but fire nonetheless. Back at the tower, Deku has an amusing expression on his face, seeing what mini-bosses was picked. He has no control over what creature will be picked for the appearance of the mini-boss in Overlord. It picks it at random. Now the green and red skeletons was all designed by Deku. But not all of the virtual opponents that comes from Overlord is his creation. Not saying he hasn't seen it before, but he was surprised to see not the strongest that Overlord could provide, but dangerous none the least. Sometimes Deku gets a feeling that Overlord has a mind of his own, like the place is actually a living entity. He just has a feeling, but no solid proof. At the same locations, both snakes blew out a huge amount of fire, as the villain heroes that are on completely different areas of the city managed to avoid the deadly wave of fire, but a good portion of the villains weren't so lucky. Shall we get to work, young master? That's one big pile of leather boots. Let's go. This should be fun. Let's go, Kirigiri. Kirigiri's weapon that he picked from one of the weapon caches is a long, see-through red spear. With his gait ability deactivated. His choice of defending himself is very limited, and his body. He's just fortunate that his body is well, it's his body the way it is. He's completely immune to pretty much all physical attacks as long as it doesn't target the device that's around his neck to stabilize his body. As long as that isn't damaged, he can't be hurt. Surprisingly, every single eye that's on the snake shot out a beam of energy towards the remaining villains, forcing himself and Shigaraki to take immediately action by taking cover, and the heroes weren't faring any better. They weren't having any better luck with their opponent. They had to separate as beams of energy shoot out of every eye of the virtual snake, making the heroes spread out, with Overlord canceling all of their quirks. Tomura has the Nomu on the benches. As long as he's an Overlord, he can't jeopardize the Nomu. The living weapon might not have all of his abilities right now, outside of his natural, pure physical strength. With his other powers not active, the Nomu could easily be destroyed. With his regeneration disabled, wants to wait until the right moment to use the Nomu. He was left with no choice. He might be having fun in Overlord, but he's still here for a reason. And his reason here is to kill the number one hero, All Might himself. He's just passing the time until then. And there's not much he can do. All Might hasn't arrived just yet. But he's very confident that he will. Suddenly, Deku could feel someone just entered the domain of Overlord, alerting him of a new visitor. Now what do we have here? As the screen showed up right in front of Deku, revealing an image of Logan, aka the Wolverine. Deku turned into pure data and shot out of the building as he's head towards Logan's location and materialized on top of a nearby building. It's about a one-story building. Logan could clearly notice Deku if he just looked up. Long time no see, Logan, as Deku's voice compromised his current position. Logan looked up on top of the building to see Deku looking down on him. I had a feeling you were responsible for this, bub. You know you can't escape. I would have found you eventually, regardless. I'm fully aware of your impressive sense of smell, sight, and hearing. What is this place, anyways? It's quite simple. I created this place with my powers. Welcome to Overlord, Logan of the X-Men. Unfortunately, I can't have you interfering in my plan, so I'm gonna have to take you down. I have no doubt it will be extremely difficult. Even if I could cancel your powers, like I did the others, you still... If I somehow found a way to cancel your abilities, you would still have your claws. So I restrained myself from attempting to deactivate your regeneration. I'm not entirely sure it would even work. Quirks is one thing, but mutant genes is a bit more technical. lot more complex. And without your regeneration, it would be far too easy to kill you. And where the fun in that would be. And I want a chance to test out this new body of mine. I've gone through some improvements since our last encounter. I've noticed you look a bit different. Not by much, but it's clearly visible. Deku jumped down to the street level, right in front of Logan, but far enough to have enough space in case of a surprise attack. Since our last encounter, I was lacking several factors, but that's no longer the case. Shall we proceed, good sir? A virtual green katana materialized right in Deku's hands, as he made another one, that's red, and tossed it as it slammed right into the ground, sinking in right in front of Logan. Pick it up. I wish to test how powerful I am with the sword before we get to the climax. I'll humor you, bub. As you can see, Logan picked up the weird-looking red sword that looks something like he would see from the danger room with their virtual technology that they implemented a couple of years ago. Out of curiosity, why are you dead set to take me down, Logan? Just following orders, bub. The professor found out about your existence by using Cerebro. And you're causing a lot of stir in your actions here in Japan. That's even the fact that how people look at us in America. There's a lot of eyes on you, kid, and some of those eyes are not for your benefit. It's only a matter of time before people see you as a threat. That doesn't matter to me. If they become hostile, I'll just remove them by killing them. I find killing your opponents is the most effective way. So, to prevent any repeat events. And will prevent more of my enemies to reconsider such transactions. Transpire. Anyways, let's continue. Deku, without even a warning, flash step appeared right above Logan as Logan dodged to the right. He swung his sword, only to see Deku block his attempt and kick Logan in the stomach, as Logan was sent backwards, skidding across the ground. Deku instantly appeared right in front of him, and immediately swung down his sword, ready to chop down Logan in half. Logan swiftly blocked the attempt to run him through, as they both exchanged blows. With their increased speed bit by bit, creating sparks with their weapons from colliding with each other. As, like I said, their speed would slowly increase while the battle progressed. Deku, seeing he can't dodge out of the way of this sword strike, he changed a part of his body into pure data as Logan's sword passed harmlessly through his body. Then Deku immediately turned his body back to normal and did a spin sword slash. Logan simply jumped backwards from the sword spin slash. Logan slowly approached Deku and went in for a sword thrust, only for Deku to stop Logan's blade by the tip of his sword from each attempt from Logan doing a sword thrust. surprising Logan by his pure skill with the blade. Deku, seeing his shock's expression, decided to get some distance between the two of them. Instantly, Deku shot out a data beam out of the palm of his hand, specifically his left hand, while Logan began to run and dodge out of the way of the beam attacks. Deku sunk into the ground, then reappeared shooting out of the side of a building, swinging his sword at Logan. Logan wasn't expecting that, as Deku stabbed Logan in the side of the ribs as he yanked his blade out of the side of Logan's body and jumped backwards to avoid an incoming sword swing from Logan. Deku looked at his opponent, wound healing itself quite fast. Lucky sharp, bub. How are you doing this? Deku only gave Logan a smirk. As long as you and me are in Overlord, whilst Overlord is active, I'm pretty much a god. And this is not out of arrogance or some sort of god complex. It's just the brutal facts. Reality works different in Overlord, and I have complete control over it. That doesn't mean Overlord needs my input. It operates on its own if it needs to. It only obeys to my will. It's a very complex relationship with this place. Eon like you wouldn't really understand. All brute. No smarts. Good knows what the kid's trying to do, but he's not going to fall for it. You're a lot more dangerous than I originally thought. I could see why the professor was determined to take you back to the mansion. You see your actions are endangering mutant kind. People already hate us for what we are. I don't really know why you decided to start to target villains of all people. But that has to stop. I'm no hypocrite. I've killed before, but what you're doing is wrong. Not on a moral state, but you're giving more fire, or you're putting more fuel to the fire. We're already hated. We already hated enough. You're just adding more to it. Now, I can fully admit your actions does get results, but you can't simply cause chaos where you goddamn please. I'm fully aware how the human species sees us mutants, but I'm above that. I've seen it all before, Logan. No matter how you X-Men try to change the opinion of humans, they will never accept us. To them, we are freaks and abominations that needs to be cleansed. Humans are extremely flawed creatures. They're very hostile towards the unknown. It's only a matter of time before they reactivated the Sentinel program. Logan was surprised he knew about the Sentinel program. If you know that, then why are you taking this course of action? It's quite simple. Because it's fun. I spent a good portion of my life powerless, but that all changed when my powers finally manifested by an unlikely person. From that forward, the old me died, and I risen like a phoenix, born anew. Not worry, if they ever reactivated the Sentinel program once again, they'll die. But until then, I will do what I goddamn please. If I want to kill, I'll kill. If I want to remove the President of the United States, I will. And if you X-Men continuously to irritate me, I will eradicate you as well. I'm neither good or evil. Such titles are meaningless. People only refer to good and evil just to help them sleep at night. I'm not so naive. The world is not black and white. Like the masses tend to believe. I'm no sheep. And I won't be bound by idiotic notions as peace between mutant kind and humans. That will never occur. You X-Men are fighting a losing battle. The game was already rigged from the start. Logan shakes his head. That's where we disagree. I don't blame you, Logan. You're only using what tools that was sent in front of you. Or set in front of you. You haven't seen what I've seen. Their own creations. We'll destroy them. But that's neither here or there. I don't put any faith in possibilities or possible outcomes. Let's just continue our battle. Logan doesn't know what the kid's talking about. He knew this kid wasn't normal, even for mutant standards, and some of his comments don't make a whole lot of sense to him. Not just yet. But the professor wants him to bring him in to the back home. By now, Logan knows he won't come willingly. Even if the professor only wants to talk, this Deku kid seems to have his own agenda. And he's willing to kill for it. That makes him very dangerous to deal with. He wished he should have waited. He could really need Charles or Jean to help. As we cut back to Class 1A, they are still fighting the mini-boss, the Hell Snake. When the Hell Snake was about to attack once again, Mirako jumped from one of the roofs, jump off the roof and slam her weapon into the skull of the snake. When the battle hammer made contact with the virtual snake, it begins to shatter, and shattering into data shards. As everyone is breathing heavy, they barely defeated the mini-boss. It was a team effort. Even Bakugo was forced to join forces. He had to suck up his pride and be a team player for once, considering his explosions is not acceptable at this current time. He was forced to rely on others and work as a well-oiled machine. Luckily, Kirishima and him work well together. Much like the heroes, Tomura managed to destroy the mini-boss that he was facing by piercing it with his sword, by cutting off its head. By this time, the battle between Logan and Deku increased in viciousness while the two clashed blades. Suddenly, the villain killer Deku separated by leaping backwards, skidding across the ground. Well, it seems our little bout came to his conclusion. Time for the grand finale. With one snap of his finger, a dozen of virtual green and red sentinels came out of the ground, all surrounding Wolverine, with all their palms extended outwards towards Logan. Take him out. After blast, as Logan's skin gets melted off from each energy blast coming from the virtual sentinels, making it very hard for Logan regeneration to keep up. Izuku used this chance for further damage and rushed towards Logan, slamming his fists into his ribs, slamming his knee into his stomach, then elbowing Logan in the side of the face, then grab him by the hair and slam him against his knee repeatedly, then continuously to blast Logan with his data beams, point blank range, adding further damage to Logan's body. As the city begins to move and morph around the heroes and villains, Tomura was about to command the Nomu to attack All Might when he saw him. Suddenly, something shot down, making a medium-sized crater in the middle of the street, as everyone could see a beaten and battered Logan. His face and upper body has no skin. You could see the muscles as they're slowly beginning to repair itself, as a small army of virtual sentinels hover down, as the hero and villains could see the villain killer Deku on top of one of the shoulders of the virtual sentinel. Suddenly everyone was in a gulp in green and red bubbles, except for the two madorias, as Deku land on the street. Congratulations on making it to this point. Most impressive. But sadly, all good things must come to an end. If you haven't figured out already, I am the final boss. I challenge you to Izuku and Izumi Midoriya. Winner takes all. Need to worry, none of you will be harmed. As long as you stayed in your bubble. If you try to pierce it in any way or shape or form, you get a nice little surprise. I highly doubt you would like the results. We commence Heroes in Training. Why are you doing this? I'm also curious as well. It's quite simple, my dear. It's because I can, and no one can stop me. Not even the almighty All Might can challenge me in Overlord. Outside of Overlord, that might be a tad bit different situation, but the results will be the same as me victorious. I always like to give my opponents a fair shake. Therefore, with one snap of his fingers, Izumi and Izuku's has access to their quirks. Once again, you have access to your powers. Look at the time. You have about half an hour to defeat me before your time runs out. And if you can't defeat me in that time period, you're all as good as dead anyways. Deku has no intention of allowing everyone here to die. The time runs out. The tower, he said about the tower, is a little bit of a white lie. It's half life and half a lie and half true. He just wants to give them a bit of motivation. In truth, the clock tower functions are not currently active. It's nothing but a bluff on his part. Not saying it can't do what he says it can do. It's just currently not on. Izuku did not wait for a second invitation and charge and use, Izuku charge and use 2% of all for one to throw a punch, only to see his attempt to be blocked with one single hand, as he threw him across, Deku threw him across the virtual city into a wall, while Izumi picked up all the nearby virtual cars and tossed them at Deku with her telekinesis. Izumi's eyes widen slightly as she sees Deku jump on each of the hood of the cars as they're being thrown at him, as he's jumping from one to another, having flying cars thrown at him, who's not even a bother to him. Seeing her current methods not working, she released a pure amount of psychic energy in the form of a blast, managing to hit Deku straight on, as he was sent flying backwards, skidding across the road. Izuku used this chance to land a solid strike of 2% of all for one across Deku's face as he goes further skidding across the road, crashing right into a virtual building. Izuku simply got up and walked out of the building to dust himself off. Both Midoriya's were surprised seeing their attack aren't doing a lot of damage to him. Meanwhile, Miracle tried to break out of the red bubble she's in, only for her to get a nasty electric shock that ran through her entire body as she fell down to one knee, panting heavy. I did warn you, little bunny. Be a good little bunny and stay there. This is a family matter. What do you mean by that? My little secret, my dear. This is neither the proper place or time to discuss such revelations to you, my dear. After all, we truly just met. I can't reveal anything vital. After all, we're still strangers. Let's get a little more serious, shall we, Madorias? When both Madorias charge at Deku, the villain killer simply dodged every attempt and grabbed Izumi by the hair and slammed her into the side of one of the buildings as he kicked her away. Izuku saw his sister got hurt. He charged forward, only to get a vicious knee in the stomach and for return. Pathetic. You're far too weak. As Deku gets closer to his doppelganger's ear, with the power of all even bestowed the power of one for all, you're still lacking. Deku palm strikes Izuku across the face as he goes flying into one of the buildings. Deku simply extended his palm outwards, ready to blast his doppelganger, only for Izumi to try to intervene, only for her to get grabbed by the throat as he lifts her up in the air by her neck with his opposite hand, while still aiming his other hand to shoot a blast out at Izuku. When Izuku came out of the building, he was instantly shot by a powerful data beam as he was thrown back into several buildings, like a rag doll, skidding across the street, then flying right into another building. You walked towards a recovering Izuku, while holding onto his sister's neck, and grabbed him by the arm as he proceeded to snap his arm as Izuku screams out in pain. That's something to remember by, my little doppelganger. Deku could feel the girl resisting, so he simply blasts her point blank range with his data beam as she went flying into one of the nearby bubbles that's currently keeping All Might inside. Stop it, you're going to kill them. Deku simply remained to be quiet and grab Izuku by the hair and slam him into the barrier bubble, forcing electricity to go off into All Might's body, making him scream out in pain. Deku simply tossed the younger version of himself, enraging Izumi as she caught her breath as she caught her brother in her arms as they skid backwards from the momentum they were going. Without warning, Deku blasted the both of them at the same time. Not at full power, but still more powerful than he's displayed prior. When the blast receded, you could see a unconscious Izuku, extremely hurt, but alive. But he's completely knocked out as Izumi struggled to get to her feet, clearly injured as she coughed up blood from her mouth. You pay for that. No one hurts my brother and gets away with it. You're strong-willed, I'll give you that, girl. But you don't have the necessary skill or power to even challenge me. Izumi did not heed his warning and charge anyways, only for her attacks to be blocked and countered as she begins to cough up more blood from every attack that her opponent has landed on her. Deku shot his data beam in point-blank range when he got close enough as the huge beam of energy engulfed the girl and a couple of buildings. When the beam receded, you could see Izumi in a similar state as her brother, on the ground, unconscious, with her shirt tattered, her clothes are tattered, but still, oddly, is still on her body. Her stomach is her lower stomach is exposed from her clothes being destroyed. But the rest of her clothes are still intact, but tattered. Deku's watch started going off. Seems like I'm out of time, as Overlord deactivated. Eventually, everyone was freed, as reality returned back to normal. Deku was nowhere to be seen. While their attention was focused on fighting Deku, Tomura took advantage of the situation and ordered a Nomu to kill the number one hero, All Might. But with Mirako, the artificial weapon, it didn't stand a chance. Eventually, All Might and the bunny hero defeated a Nomu. By this time, Nezu sent out several pro heroes when he hasn't heard from All Might, as the canon story progresses by Tomura escaping from getting several gunshots wounds all over his body. Deku, on the other hand, was long gone from the USJ. He was highly disappointed in his younger self. He still has much to learn and grow as a person and as a future pro hero and the successor to the symbol of peace. Only time could tell if he's truly worthy of such a title in the future. Hope you guys have a good night and day, judging by time zones, and I'll catch you in the next video.